I was folding my daughter's favorite purple sweater when the text came through, the one with the tiny unicorns that she had picked out herself at Target 3 months ago, insisting it was perfect, because unicorns believe in magic, just like me. The sweater was soft between my fingers, still warm from the dryer, and I was thinking about how Eva had worn it to school picture day, how she had smoothed it down carefully, and asked if she looked fancy enough for a photograph that lasts forever. Just a simple message that would change everything, arriving on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in November, while Eva sat at our small kitchen table, tongue poking out in concentration as she cut paper leaves for her school project. My name is Grace. I am 34 years old, and I work as a business consultant from our 2-bedroom apartment here in Millfield, a quiet suburb about an hour outside the city. It is not much, but it is ours. The walls are painted soft yellow because Eva said it looked like sunshine, and her artwork covers every available surface of our refrigerator. Crayon drawings of our family, which is always just the two of us, holding hands under a rainbow. I share my life with the most incredible 8-year-old named Eva Rose. She's got dark curls that spring free from every ponytail I attempt, and these enormous brown eyes that see magic in the smallest things. A butterfly landing on our windowsill, the way steam rises from hot chocolate, how the afternoon light makes patterns on our living room carpet. Right now she was humming something under her breath, carefully cutting orange and yellow construction paper, making leaves for her class's thankful tree project. Each leaf has to have something I am grateful for, she had explained to me earlier, showing me the worksheet her teacher had sent home. And then we are going to make a whole tree in our classroom, and everyone will be able to see all the good things. She had already made 6 leaves. One said Mama in her careful 2nd grade handwriting. Another said our apartment that is cozy. A third said library books that take me places. Each one was different, thoughtful, genuine. My family has always been complicated. My parents, Linda and Robert, still live in the house where I grew up, about 40 minutes away in what they call the nice part of town. It is a 4-bedroom colonial with the same floral wallpaper my mother picked out when I was in high school, and family photos that carefully exclude certain chapters of our story. The mantelpiece tells a selective history. My brother Ben's wedding, his college graduation, professional portraits of Ben and his wife Sarah with their 2 children Madison and Tyler. Ben is 38 and has always been their golden child, married to his college sweetheart, successful career in finance, 2 kids who excel at soccer and piano lessons and never talk back. Their house has a 3-car garage and a swimming pool, and everything my parents had dreamed their children would achieve. Then there is me, the single mother, the one who got pregnant at 25 with a man who disappeared the moment he heard the word baby, the one who chose to keep Eva despite every family meeting, every tearful conversation about ruining my potential, the one who made different choices, the one who never quite fits into their perfect family portrait. For years I had told myself things were getting better. My parents sent Eva birthday cards, usually a few days late. They invited us to Christmas dinner, though Eva and I always ended up sitting at the kids' table while Ben's children got the special attention. They remembered her school plays sometimes, and would ask polite questions about her grades. But there was always this feeling, this sense that we were guests in a house where everyone else belonged. The text was from my mother, short and brutal. We are doing Thanksgiving with just the well-behaved kids. Yours can skip this year. I read it once. Then again. Then, a 3rd time, certain there had to be some mistake. No emoji, no explanation, no acknowledgement that Eva is her granddaughter. Just cold words delivered like a weather report, like she was canceling a dentist appointment. The laundry basket slipped from my hands, and Eva's sweater fell to the floor. Eva looked up from her paper leaves, scissors poised mid-cut. Her face was bright with the excitement of her project, and she had a tiny piece of orange paper stuck to her cheek. "Mama, what is wrong? You look funny." Without thinking, I turned the phone toward her. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I needed someone else to confirm that what I was reading was real. Maybe I was in shock. Maybe some part of me needed Eva to understand why we wouldn't be going to Grandma's house this year. Eva squinted at the screen, sounding out the words with the careful concentration she used for her homework. Her lips moved silently as she read. When she finished, her face went very still, and then it crumpled like tissue paper. "Did I do something wrong?" she whispered, and then the tears came. Not the dramatic tears of a tired child or a scraped knee, but the quiet, confused tears of someone who doesn't understand why they are being hurt. I dropped to my knees beside her chair, pulling her close. She smelled like crayons and strawberry shampoo, and that particular little girl's scent that was purely Eva. "No, baby, you didn't do anything wrong, not ever." But even as I said the words, the truth was settling into my bones like winter cold, seeping through my chest and making it hard to breathe. My parents had never really accepted Eva. They tolerated her because she was part of the package deal that came with me, but they had never embraced her as their granddaughter. Not really. For 8 years, I had been pretending their tolerance was the same as love, their occasional invitations the same as belonging. I had been performing this elaborate dance trying to earn a place for us at their table, believing that if I was just patient enough, grateful enough, helpful enough, they would eventually see what I saw when I looked at Eva. They only loved the obedient version of me. The one who existed before Eva, before I made choices they couldn't control or understand. The daughter who followed their rules and met their expectations and never complicated their carefully constructed world. "What does it mean?" Eva asked, her voice small and muffled against my shoulder. I held her tighter, feeling the weight of having to explain cruelty to someone who would never understand it. "It means Grandma and Grandpa want to have Thanksgiving with just Uncle Ben's family this year. But what about us?" The question hit me like a physical blow. "We will have our own Thanksgiving, just you and me." "But why don't they want me there?" She pressed, and I could hear the confusion in her voice, the way children ask questions that adults cannot answer without destroying something innocent. I picked up my phone with shaking hands and typed back, "Understood. I will cancel my card for the event." What my mother didn't know was that I had been paying for their Thanksgiving dinner for the past 5 years. Every November, I quietly arranged everything: the catered turkey and all the sides from the expensive restaurant downtown, the wine delivery from the shop my father preferred, the elaborate floral centerpieces my mother loved to show off to the neighbors, the rented tables and chairs for their expanded guest list, even the professional photographer who came to take family photos after dinner. I let her take credit for hosting these beautiful gatherings, while I smiled and pretended it didn't matter who wrote the checks. Every year I would get compliments on the meal, and I had watched my mother beam as people praised her hosting skills. Every year, I would bite my tongue and act grateful to be included. My phone showed the text as delivered, but not read. I wondered how long it would take her to realize what cancel my card meant. Eva wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, leaving a small smear of orange paper dust on her cheek. "Are we still having Thanksgiving?" "Yes," I said, and meant it. "We are going to have the best Thanksgiving ever." She looked at me with those serious eyes, the ones that made her seem older than 8 sometimes. "Will you be sad?" "No, sweetheart. I will not be sad." And as I said it, I realized it might actually be true. That afternoon, Eva and I baked chocolate chip cookies and talked about what our own Thanksgiving would look like. She wanted turkey, but she also wanted pancakes. She wanted to watch the parade, but she also wanted to build a fort in the living room. She wanted everything to be exactly the way we liked it, without worrying about anyone else's rules or expectations. "Can we eat dessert first?" she asked, hope brightening her voice. "It is our Thanksgiving," I said. "We can do whatever we want." That night, after Eva was asleep, I sat in my kitchen with a cup of tea that had gone cold hours ago. The apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic from the main road. I stared at my phone, watching for the inevitable response to my text, but nothing came. I thought about blood versus love, about the difference between family and people who just happen to share your DNA. About how some people wear kindness like a costume they can take off whenever it gets uncomfortable. About how I had spent years trying to translate my parents' conditional affection into something that looked like unconditional love. Maybe this was the year I would finally learn the difference. Maybe this was the year I would stop pretending that family meant love when it had only ever meant obligation. Update 1: I spent Wednesday morning making phone calls. The first was to Marcella's Catering, the upscale company my mother always raved about to her neighbors. When I explained I needed to cancel our Thanksgiving order, the woman on the phone went silent for a moment. "Mrs. Henderson, are you sure?" she asked. "This is for 15 people. And it is our full traditional package with all the extras. The turkey, the stuffing, the 3 types of potatoes, the green bean casserole, the cranberry sauce, the rolls, the pies. Everything's already been prepared." "I am sure," I said, staring out my kitchen window at Eva, building a snowman in our small courtyard. She was using buttons from my sewing kit for the eyes, and one of my old scarves around its neck. "Is there a family emergency? If something's happened, we could hold the order for a few hours." Her genuine concern almost broke my resolve. This woman cared more about our family situation than my own mother did. "No emergency, just a change of plans." "Well, we are very sorry to lose your business, Mrs. Henderson. Your family has always been such a pleasure to work with." After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long moment, thinking about how this stranger had called me Mrs. Henderson, and assumed I was the matriarch of the family, the one making decisions and taking care of everyone. If only she knew, the wine shop was next. Giuseppe's, the place my father had discovered years ago and now considered himself an expert about. He loved to tell people about his relationship with the owner, how they saved special bottles just for him. "Grace, Bella," Giuseppe himself answered, and I could hear the warmth in his voice. "I was just putting together your father's order for tomorrow. 3 bottles of the Chianti Classico, 2 Pinot Noirs, and that special Prosecco your mother loves for toasts." "Actually, Giuseppe, I need to cancel that order." "Cancel." His accent made the word sound like a tragedy. "But tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Your family has been celebrating with my wines for what? 5 years now? There has been a change in plans. Is someone sick? My Sophia, she had the flu last week. Terrible timing. If you need to postpone, I can hold everything." "No, it is not that. We just will not be needing the wine this year." There was a pause, and I could almost see him shaking his head the way he did when something didn't make sense to him. "Well, if you are sure, but Grace, you call me next year." "Yes. Your family. They appreciate good wine. Not like some of my customers who wouldn't know a good Chianti from grape juice." The florist was the hardest call. Margaret at Millfield Flowers had been creating my mother's centerpieces for 3 years now. Elaborate arrangements of fall flowers, oak leaves, small pumpkins, and candles that my mother photographed from every angle and posted on Facebook with captions like "blessed to be surrounded by such beauty." "Oh my goodness, Grace," Margaret said when I explained, "but I have already made the arrangements. 3 large centerpieces and 6 smaller ones, just like your mother requested. They are absolutely gorgeous this year. Some of my best work. I am sorry for the short notice. Are you sure there isn't another event you could use them for? A office party, maybe? It seems such a shame to waste them." "I am sure," Margaret sighed. "Well, I suppose I can try to sell them to someone else, but it is late notice. Your mother is going to be so disappointed. She always talks about how her Thanksgiving table is the prettiest in the neighborhood." After I finished all the calls, I sat in my living room watching Eva through the window. She had finished her snowman and was now lying on her back in the snow, making snow angels. Her cheeks were pink with cold, and she was talking to herself, probably creating some elaborate story about snow kingdoms and magic powers. My phone had been quiet all morning, but around noon, it started buzzing with activity in our family group chat. The one called Henderson Family, updates that I had been added to reluctantly 3 years ago. The first photo was from my mother, her dining room table set for 12, with the good china. The crystal glasses catching the afternoon light through the windows. The caption read, "Almost ready for our beautiful family feast." Then Ben, a selfie with Sarah and their kids in the car. Everyone dressed in their Thanksgiving best. Madison in a burgundy velvet dress, Tyler in a sweater vest and tie. On our way to Grandma's house, my father chimed in with a photo of himself arranging firewood by their fireplace, getting the atmosphere perfect for our grateful family. Then, Sarah, a picture of the kids running around my parents' backyard with my cousin's children. So thankful for family time. Eva came inside around 1 o'clock, stomping the snow off her boots and unwinding her scarf. Her nose was red and running, but she was grinning. "Mama, look," she held up her mittens, which were covered in snow. "I caught snowflakes and they made patterns. That is beautiful, sweetheart. Are you ready for our Thanksgiving morning? Can we really have pancakes for Thanksgiving?" "We can have anything we want." We spent the next hour making pancakes shaped like turkeys. Eva helped me pour the batter, her tongue sticking out in concentration as she tried to make the shapes perfect. We used strips of bacon for tail feathers and orange slices for beaks. When she bit into the first one, she declared it the best turkey ever and asked if we could make them every Thanksgiving from now on. While we ate, we watched the parade on television. Eva provided running commentary on every float, balloon, and performance with the serious dedication of a professional critic. "That balloon looks sad," she announced, pointing at a character whose face was slightly deflated. "He needs more air to be happy." "The dancers in the pretty dresses are my favorite," she said during a Broadway number. "Do you think they practice in their own houses first? That marching band sounds like 100 people all trying to talk at the same time," she observed. But in a good way. Around 11, she looked up from her second turkey pancake and asked, "Are you sad we are not with Grandma and Grandpa?" The question caught me off guard, even though I had been expecting it. "Are you?" She considered this carefully, the way she approached all important questions. She took another bite, chewed thoughtfully, and finally said, "I am sad they don't want me there, but I am happy we are here together. And I like our pancakes better than fancy turkey anyway." Out of the mouths of babes, the family group chat was getting more active as the day progressed. Photos of cocktails in the good glasses, of my cousins arriving with their children, of Ben's kids playing some elaborate game in the backyard. Around noon, someone posted a photo of everyone gathered in the living room, raising their glasses in a toast. The caption, posted by my sister-in-law Sarah, read, "To family, and to the ones who know how to behave." So grateful for this beautiful tradition, I stared at that caption for a long time. The ones who know how to behave. As if Eva's existence was somehow misbehavior. As if loving her was some kind of rebellion against their perfectly ordered world. I set my phone face down and helped Eva build a fort out of our couch cushions and every blanket we owned. She had specific architectural requirements. The fort needed 3 rooms, a secret entrance, and what she called windows for looking at the world. "This is our castle," she announced once we had finished. "And in our castle, everybody is welcome as long as they are kind." "What if they are not kind?" I asked, crawling inside with her. "Then they have to stay outside until they learn how to be nice to people." The first frantic message came at 1:30. "Sarah, has anyone heard from the caterers? Mom's getting worried." Then Ben called the catering company. They said our order was canceled. Mom's freaking out. Then my father, "Grace, have you heard anything about the food situation? Your mother is beside herself." I watched the messages pile up while Eva and I read books in our blanket fort. She had chosen 3 stories about brave animals who went on adventures and always found their way home. Each notification brought a little flutter of something that might have been satisfaction. Or maybe it was just peace. At 2 o'clock, my phone started ringing, my mother's name on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Grace, honey," she said, and I could hear the barely controlled panic in her voice. "There seems to be some confusion with the catering company. They are saying our order was canceled. Do you know anything about this?" "No," I said simply. "I haven't heard anything." Through the phone I could hear chaos in the background, multiple conversations happening at once, someone crying, the sound of cabinet doors slamming, my father's voice saying something about calling every restaurant in town. "Well, we are trying to figure out what happened," she continued. "Sarah's attempting to cook something with what we have in the house, but there is not enough food for 15 people. The children are getting cranky, and your aunt and uncle drove 2 hours to be here." "That sounds really stressful," I replied, keeping my voice neutral while Eva showed me pictures in her book. A long pause. Are you and Eva planning to come over later? Even if we cannot have the big dinner, it would be nice to have family together. The word family hung in the air between us. After this morning's text, after years of conditional invitations and careful exclusions, she was still pretending we were all just one big happy family. No, I said. We are having a quiet day at home. I could practically hear her waiting for me to offer to help, to save the day like I always did, to call my contacts to find a solution, to rescue their Thanksgiving just like I had rescued their finances more times than I could count. Instead, I listened to Eva giggling at a picture of a bear wearing a tutu, and I smiled. Oh, my mother finally said, "Well, I hope you both have a nice day." After I hung up, Eva peeked out of the fort. Was that Grandma? Yes. Did she sound upset? I crawled back into the fort with her, where the light was golden and soft through the blankets. Sometimes grown-ups get upset about things that aren't really important. Like when Tommy at school gets mad because someone sits in his favorite chair. Exactly like that. We spent the rest of the afternoon reading stories about brave princesses and talking animals. Eva fell asleep against my shoulder around 5. Her book open across her lap, one hand still clutching the edge of my sweater. I listened to her steady breathing while my phone continued to buzz with increasingly desperate messages from the family chat. Ordered pizza. Ben had written at 4:30. This is a disaster, Sarah added. The kids are so disappointed. Next year we are planning better, my father declared, as if this had been some kind of unavoidable natural disaster rather than the consequence of their own cruelty. For dinner, Eva and I made turkey sandwiches using leftover roasted chicken from earlier in the week, stuffing from a box that we jazzed up with cranberries and pecans, and sweet potato fries from the freezer. We ate at our little kitchen table with candles lit and soft music playing. This feels fancy, Eva said, holding her sandwich with both hands, like we are at a restaurant. After dinner, we watched The Princess Bride, which Eva had never seen but insisted on choosing, because it has a princess, and it sounds like an adventure. She provided commentary throughout, gasping at the sword fights and covering her eyes during the scary parts. Buttercup reminds me of you, she said during the credits, because she is brave and she doesn't give up. You remind me of Wesley, I told her, because you are clever and kind and nothing could ever defeat you. Really? Really? That night, after Eva was asleep, I sat in my kitchen with a cup of tea and scrolled through the final messages in the family chat. Photos of everyone gathered around makeshift plates of pizza and whatever Sarah had managed to cobble together from my parents' pantry. My mother had posted a picture of herself smiling with forced brightness, surrounded by her grandchildren, with the caption, "Grateful for family, no matter what challenges we face." It was the most peaceful Thanksgiving I had had in years. But something told me this was just the beginning. Update 2. The call came 3 weeks later, on a gray December morning when the first real snow of the season was falling outside our kitchen window. Eva had pressed her face against the glass, watching the flakes spiral down like tiny dancers, and I was reviewing a client proposal for a marketing campaign when my mother's name appeared on my phone screen. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken since Thanksgiving, and the silence had been surprisingly peaceful. No awkward small talk. No careful navigation around topics that might upset anyone. No pretending that everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. But something about the early hour and the third consecutive call made me pick up. "Grace, we need to talk," she said without preamble, her voice tight with stress. "We have a situation." I set down my coffee cup and waited, watching Eva trace patterns in the condensation on the window. She was drawing hearts and stars, her breath fogging the glass as she narrated some elaborate story about snow fairies. "Your father and I might need to ask for some help," my mother continued, and I could hear the careful way she was choosing her words. "There has been a situation with Ben's finances." The story unfolded slowly, each detail more revealing than the last. 2 years ago, when Ben decided he needed a BMW, he couldn't afford something about maintaining his image in his finance job, about how appearances mattered in his industry. My parents had co-signed the loan. Not only that, They had used their house as collateral, the house they had lived in for 30 years, where I had grown up, where every family photo still hung in the same spots on the floral wallpapered walls. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. Though I already knew the answer. They had made a financial decision for their golden child without consulting their backup plan. "We didn't want to worry you," she said. Which was code for "we didn't think it was any of your business until we needed your money." Now Ben had lost his job 6 months ago. Something about downsizing, though. My mother's explanation was vague and defensive. He had been too proud to tell anyone, too confident he would find something quickly. He had been making minimum payments on credit cards, borrowing from friends, doing anything to avoid admitting failure. But the BMW payments had stopped 3 months ago. The bank was threatening foreclosure. My parents had received the final notice just yesterday. 30 days to come up with $43,000, or they would lose everything. "I know we haven't been perfect," my mother said, and I almost laughed at the understatement. "But we are family, Grace, and family helps family." The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 weeks ago, Eva and I hadn't been family enough to warrant an invitation to Thanksgiving dinner. But now, when money was involved, suddenly we were family again. I thought about Eva's tears that November afternoon, about the text message that had started all this, about the phrase, "well-behaved kids," and how it had felt like a slap across the face, about how my daughter had asked if she had done something wrong while my parents were literally betting their house on my brother's mistakes. "How much do you need?" I heard myself asking. The relief in her voice was immediate and overwhelming. "Oh, Grace, I knew you would understand. You have always been the responsible one, the one we can count on when things get difficult." $43,000, more than half my savings account. Money I had been setting aside for Eva's college fund, for our future security, for the dreams I had been building for us $1 at a time. "I will need to see the paperwork," I said, already knowing I would do it. Despite everything, despite the hurt and the exclusion and the years of feeling like we didn't belong, I couldn't let them lose their house. Of course. "I will email everything over right now, Grace. You are saving us. You are saving our home." I transferred the money that afternoon, sitting at my laptop while Eva did homework at the kitchen table. She was working on a math worksheet, tongue poking out in concentration as she carried numbers and checked her work. Every few minutes, she would look up and ask me to check a problem, and I would nod and tell her she was doing great while I moved nearly half our future to save my parents' past. "Mama, are you okay?" she asked when I had been staring at the computer screen for too long after hitting confirm transfer. "I am fine, sweetheart, just helping Grandma and Grandpa with something." "Are they sick?" "No, just dealing with some grown-up problems." 3 days later, my phone lit up with a group message in the family chat. "Crisis averted, house is saved. Family dinner this Sunday to celebrate." Then a separate text. "Just to me, Grace. We can never thank you enough. We would love to take Eva Christmas shopping this weekend, to make up for the Thanksgiving misunderstanding." I stared at the message for a long time. The Thanksgiving misunderstanding. As if excluding my daughter from a family holiday had been some kind of miscommunication rather than a deliberate cruelty. Part of me wanted to believe that nearly losing their home had changed something, had made them realize what really mattered. Eva had been asking about her grandparents more frequently lately, wondering why we didn't see them anymore, why they never called to ask about school or her drawings or the books she was reading. "Maybe they are just busy with Christmas shopping," she had said the week before, and her faith in their essential goodness had made my chest ache. Maybe this was their way of trying to make things right. Maybe almost losing everything had given them perspective. Maybe they had realized that punishing an 8-year-old for existing wasn't the kind of people they wanted to be. "Can I go?" Eva asked when I told her about the shopping invitation. "I want to show Grandma the story I wrote about the snow fairies." Saturday morning, my mother picked Eva up in her sedan, the same car she had been driving for 8 years, but kept immaculately clean. Eva had dressed carefully for the occasion, choosing her favorite dress, the purple one with small flowers, that she thought made her look fancy but not too fancy, and bringing a small bag with the story she had written, some drawings she had made, and a bracelet she had crafted from colorful beads. "We are going to have such a special day." my mother said to Eva, her voice bright with the enthusiasm she usually reserved for Ben's children, just you and Grandma making up for lost time. Eva practically bounced on her toes as she hugged me goodbye. I will tell you everything when I get back, she promised. Every single thing we do. They were gone for 4 hours. When my mother's car pulled up in the driveway, I could see Eva in the passenger seat through the windshield. She looked smaller somehow, sitting very still with her hands folded in her lap. When she climbed out, she was clutching a single plastic bag from the dollar store and what looked like a cheap keychain. "How was shopping, sweetheart?" I asked, kneeling down to hug her hello. "It was okay," she said, but something in her voice had changed. The excitement from the morning was gone, replaced by a careful flatness that made my stomach turn. My mother made small talk about the crowds at the mall and how busy the stores were getting close to Christmas. She mentioned that Eva had been very well behaved and thanked me for raising her to be polite. But I caught something in her expression when she looked at Eva, something that reminded me of the way people look at stray animals they feel obligated to be kind to. After she left, Eva went straight to her room. When I found her 20 minutes later, she was sitting on her bed with the keychain in her lap. It was a plastic snowman with a crooked smile and a missing button. The kind of thing you would find in a clearance bin marked down to nothing. "Tell me about your day," I said, sitting beside her on the small bed where we read stories every night. The story came out in pieces, like pulling splinters from a wound. They had gone to the mall first, to the big department store, where my mother had always taken Ben's kids for their special shopping trips. Eva had tried on dress after dress in the children's section, spinning in front of the three-way mirror and asking what her grandmother thought. She kept saying things like, "That is pretty, I suppose," and "It is not really your color, though," Eva said quietly. And when I found one I really liked, a red one with snowflakes on it, she said it was too expensive for children who might not appreciate nice things. They had left that section empty-handed and spent the next 2 hours shopping for my cousin's children instead. Eva had been expected to help carry bags and stand quietly while my mother selected expensive toys, books, and clothes for the real grandchildren. She kept talking to the store ladies about her grandkids, Eva continued, her voice getting smaller, about Madison's dance recital and Tyler's soccer team and how proud she was of them. When they asked about me, she said I was just someone she was babysitting for the day. My chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing all the air out of my lungs. What else happened? Eva looked down at the plastic snowman keychain at lunch. She took me to the food court. But first we had to stop at the expensive toy store because she saw something for Tyler in the window. While she was paying, I was looking at these books about magic and princesses, and I asked if maybe I could have one for Christmas. She paused, taking a shaky breath. She said books were wasted on children who probably wouldn't take care of them anyway. Then she told the cashier that I wasn't really her granddaughter, that I was just someone she had to be nice to sometimes, because of family obligations. The plastic snowman keychain had cost 99 cents. I could still see the faded price sticker on the bottom. She said it was appropriate for my allowance level, Eva whispered, and that maybe next year, if I learned to behave better, I might get something nicer. That night, after Eva was asleep, I sat in my kitchen and felt something fundamental shift inside me. It wasn't anger anymore, though. There was plenty of that. It wasn't hurt, though that was there too. It was grief for something that had never existed and clarity about something I had been refusing to see. I grieved for the mother I had needed but never had, for the grandmother Eva deserved but would never know. For the family I had spent 34 years trying to earn my way into, only to realize the door had never been open. I grieved for every holiday I had spent trying to make myself smaller so everyone else could be comfortable. For every birthday where Eva's cake was an afterthought. For every family photo where we were positioned on the edges, like we might need to be cropped out later. They would never change. This wasn't about money or misunderstandings or holiday stress. This was about who they were at their core, and who they had decided we weren't worthy of being. My mother had taken my $43,000 with gratitude and relief. Then she had taken my daughter shopping and made sure Eva understood exactly how little she mattered to them. She had saved their house with my money and used the opportunity to break my child's heart with surgical precision. But I was done grieving, and I was done pretending. Next time they asked for help, I would be ready. Final update: 2 weeks before Christmas, my father showed up at my door. No warning, no phone call, just a knock at 7 in the evening while Eva and I were making hot chocolate in the kitchen. It had become our evening ritual, something we did while talking about our days and planning the next adventure. Eva was standing on her step stool, carefully stirring marshmallows into her mug when the knock came. She looked up at me with excitement, probably thinking it was one of our neighbors with holiday cookies, or maybe the mail carrier with a package. "Grace, sweetheart," my father said when I opened the door, standing on my doorstep with his hands in his pockets, and that careful smile he used when he wanted something. I was hoping we could talk. Eva started to run to the door, her face lighting up with the automatic joy children have when they see family members. But I caught her hand. "Go finish your homework, baby," I said gently. "Grandpa and I need to have a grown-up conversation." "But I want to show him my story about the snow fairies," she protested. And my heart ached at her eagerness to share something she was proud of with someone who had never bothered to ask about her interests. "Maybe later, sweetheart." We sat in my living room, the same small space where Eva and I read books every night, and where she practiced her spelling words on Saturday mornings. My father looked around with the barely concealed judgment he had always had for my choices, my modest apartment, my different life. He went through the motions of polite conversation first. How was work? How was Eva adjusting to 3rd grade? How were we managing in the apartment now that winter was here? But I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes kept darting toward the kitchen where Eva was working, the careful way he was building up to something. Finally, after 15 minutes of small talk, he got to the point. "Ben's gotten himself into some trouble again," he said. "Not meeting my eyes, some fines, some legal fees, nothing major. But you know how these things can snowball. And with Christmas coming up, the kids expecting their usual presents, well, we were wondering if you might be able to help out. Just a few thousand to get us through the holidays." I looked at this man who had raised me but never really seen me, who had taught me to ride a bike and helped me with homework, but somehow missed every important moment of who I was becoming, and asked the question that had been burning in my chest for weeks. "Does Eva count as family?" The question hung in the air between us. Through the kitchen doorway, I could hear Eva humming while she worked on her homework. The same tuneless song she always hummed when she was concentrating. His eyes shifted away from mine, focusing on something over my shoulder. The silence stretched between us like a held breath, and in that silence, I had my answer. "Because if she does," I continued, my voice steady, "then you already know my answer about helping. You and Mom made sure she would understand exactly where she stands in this family." He started to say something about misunderstandings, and how children sometimes misinterpret things, how adults have complicated relationships that kids don't understand, but I held up my hand. "You can stop," I said quietly. "We both know this isn't about misunderstandings, this is about choices, and you have made yours very clear, Grace. You are being dramatic. We are family, and families go through rough patches, but we work through them. That is what family does." "No," I said, standing up. "That is what some families do. But you have made it clear that Eva and I aren't really part of yours. We are just the people you call when you need money. That is not fair." "Fair," I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my own ears. "What is not fair is texting me that only well-behaved children are welcome at Thanksgiving. What is not fair is taking my 8-year-old shopping and making sure she knows she is not really your granddaughter. What is not fair is $43,000 disappearing from my savings account to save your house, while my daughter gets a 99-cent keychain and a lecture about not being worthy of nice things." His face went pale. "We never meant yes, you did. You meant exactly what you said and did, and now you can go." I walked to the door and opened it. "You can tell Mom and Ben that the Bank of Grace is permanently closed." After he left, I stood in my living room for a long moment, watching through the window as his car disappeared down our street. Eva appeared in the kitchen doorway, her homework forgotten. "Is Grandpa mad?" she asked. "No, sweetheart, he is just leaving. Did I do something wrong again?" The question broke my heart. "No, baby, you never did anything wrong. Not once." The next morning my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "We always knew you would punish us for not loving your mistake." I read it twice, screenshotted it, and then blocked her number. Then Ben's. Then my father's. One by one, I deleted every connection that had ever made Eva feel like she wasn't enough. The word mistake echoed in my head for hours. That is what Eva was to them. Not a granddaughter, not a family member, not a person worthy of love and respect. A mistake. But Eva wasn't a mistake. She was the best thing that had ever happened to me, the person who had taught me what unconditional love looked like, who saw magic in snowflakes and believed in the goodness of people, even when they repeatedly disappointed her. A week later, a thick envelope arrived in our mailbox with my mother's familiar handwriting, 3 pages of careful explanations about family dynamics and financial pressures, about how they had always cared about me but hadn't known how to show it properly, about how Eva was special to them, just in a different way than the other grandchildren. The letter was full of excuses and justifications, carefully worded apologies that somehow managed to blame me for misunderstanding their intentions. But at the bottom of the last page, almost as an afterthought, was another request for money, this time for their mortgage payment. Even after everything, even after calling my daughter a mistake, they still thought I might give them money. I folded the letter carefully and put it in the kitchen drawer, not to keep as some kind of evidence, but so Eva wouldn't accidentally see it in the trash and ask questions I wasn't ready to answer. That evening, I found Eva at the kitchen table working on a creative writing assignment for school. She was writing about a princess who lived in a castle made of books, where every story had a happy ending and visitors were always welcome as long as they were kind. "Eva," I said, sitting down beside her, "you know how sometimes people say they love you but they don't act like it?" She looked up from her careful handwriting, her pencil poised over the paper, like when Madison at school said she was my friend, but then told everyone my lunch looked weird. Exactly like that. Sometimes people say they love you but only know how to hurt you, and it is okay to walk away from people like that, even if they are supposed to be family. She nodded solemnly, with the wisdom that children sometimes have about simple truths that adults complicate, because real love doesn't make you feel bad about yourself. That is right. And you, my darling girl, you just existed, and that was enough to scare them. Because you are everything they pretend to be but aren't. You are kind and honest and brave, and they couldn't handle being around someone so genuinely good. Are you sad that we will not see them anymore? I considered her question carefully. I am sad that they chose to miss out on knowing you, but I am not sad that we will not have to pretend anymore. 2 days later, as we were cooking dinner together, Eva was helping me make her favorite pasta with the vegetables she would actually eat. There was another knock at our door. Eva started toward it out of habit, but I caught her hand. "Don't open it," I said. Through the peephole, I could see both my parents standing in the hallway. My mother was holding what looked like another envelope, probably another letter full of excuses and requests. My father was checking his watch, probably calculating how long they were willing to wait before giving up. I opened the door just wide enough for them to see my face, leaving the chain lock engaged. "We need to talk," my mother said, her voice carrying that tone of authority she had always used when she wanted to make me feel like a child being called to account for misbehavior. "No," I replied calmly. "We don't, Grace. This is ridiculous," my father added. "We are family. We have had our disagreements, but this has gone too far." I looked at them through the narrow gap in the door. These people who had given me life but never understood how to let me live it freely. "You can stop asking. It is over." "You are making a mistake," my mother said, and I almost laughed at her choice of words. "You are depriving Eva of her grandparents over some silly misunderstanding, Eva." I called back to the kitchen. "Do you want to talk to Grandma and Grandpa?" There was a pause, and then Eva's clear voice. "No thank you, Mama. They made me feel bad out of the mouths of babes." As I closed the door, I heard my mother call out something about how I was being unfair, about how they had tried their best, about how someday I would regret this decision. But her words felt distant, like voices from a dream I was finally waking up from. Eva appeared beside me, slipping her small hand into mine. "Are you sad, Mama?" I looked down at her, this incredible little person who had taught me what unconditional love actually looked like, who had shown me that family isn't about blood or obligation, but about choosing to show up for each other every single day, and smiled. "No, sweetheart. I am not sad at all." That night, as I tucked Eva into bed, she asked, "Will they come back?" "Maybe," I said honestly. "But if they do, we don't have to open the door. We get to choose who comes into our lives, and we only choose people who are kind to us. Like Mrs. Patterson next door, who brings us cookies. Like Mrs. Patterson, who brings us cookies. And like Mr. Giuseppe, who always asks how I am doing when we see him at the grocery store. And like Mr. Giuseppe, who remembers your name and asks about your school projects. And like us, because we are kind to each other. Especially like us." A month later, snow was falling again outside our kitchen window. Eva was at the table working on a new story. This one about a girl who built the most beautiful snow castle anyone had ever seen, and the people who came from far away just to see it and tell her how talented she was. "Mama," she said, looking up from her writing in my story. "The girl's family is just her and her mom. Is that okay?" "That sounds perfect," I said. For once, I didn't just close the door, I locked it and threw away the key.